Happiness is not something that happens to you. You already know this. You've had objectively good days that felt hollow and difficult days that felt oddly alive. You've achieved things you were certain would make you happy and felt the feeling dissolve before you'd finished celebrating. You've waited for the right circumstances, the right job, the right relationship, the right version of your life, and notice that even when those things arrived, the happiness didn't quite settle the way you expected. That's not a personal failure. That's how the brain works. Your brain was not designed to make you happy. It was designed to keep you alive. Left to run on default, it scans for problems, anticipates threats, and returns again and again to what's wrong or incomplete. Not because you're pessimistic, because you're human. The negativity bias is not a flaw in your character. It's a feature of your neurology, one that kept your ancestors breathing, but keeps you in the modern world perpetually a few degrees below content. But here's what neuroscience has made increasingly clear. Happiness is not a fixed set point you're either born with or without. It is a state, and like every state, it can be deliberately triggered and over time made automatic through the right repeated behaviors. Not through positive thinking, not through pretending things are fine. Through 5 specific morning habits that activate your brain's happiness circuitry before the day starts pulling in the other direction. Stay close through habit 4. The first 3 set the chemical conditions for happiness. Habit 4 is where those conditions stop being something you create and start being something you live inside, and it's the most counterintuitive shift in this list. Chapter 1. Activate serotonin with light and movement together. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter most closely linked to sustained mood, emotional stability, and what researchers describe as a background sense of well-being. The quiet, unglamorous feeling that life is basically okay, not euphoric, just okay, steady. That feeling, it turns out, is largely chemical. And in the morning, there are 2 inputs that drive serotonin production more powerfully than almost anything else. The first is natural light. When morning sunlight enters your eyes, it stimulates the retinal ganglion cells, which send a direct signal to the ROF nuclei, the brain's primary serotonin-producing region, triggering serotonin synthesis. Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford describes morning light as the single most powerful non-pharmacological tool for elevating mood across the day. The effect isn't subtle. Studies on seasonal affective disorder, the depression that arrives with the reduced light of winter, have shown that bright light exposure alone produces antidepressant effects comparable to medication for many people. The second input is movement. Exercise of any kind triggers serotonin release, but the combination of light and movement together is where the effect compounds. A 10-minute walk outside in the morning, low intensity, nothing demanding, delivers both inputs simultaneously. Serotonin rises, cortisol begins its natural decline, and your mood doesn't need to be performed. It arrives on its own, quietly, as a direct biochemical consequence of what you just did. 10 minutes, outside, walking, that's the whole habit. Not a workout, not a routine, just light and movement together before the day makes its first demand of you. Do this for 5 consecutive days and notice what's different about your baseline. Not your best moments, your baseline. The floor your mood operates from. That's what changes, and a higher floor changes everything that's built on top of it. Chapter 2. Front load the brain with what it needs to feel good. Here's something the happiness research is unambiguous about, and that most people undermine before they've even started their day. The neurochemicals that underpin your mood, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, are synthesized from nutrients. Specifically from amino acids that your body cannot produce on its own and can only get from food. The most important of these is tryptophan, the precursor to serotonin, found in protein-rich foods. Without adequate protein in the morning, your brain is trying to run its happiness chemistry on an empty fuel line. A high-sugar breakfast, cereal, pastries, sweetened coffee drinks, creates a sharp spike in blood glucose followed by an equally sharp crash. During that crash, serotonin and dopamine drop measurably. You feel irritable, flat, disproportionately affected by small difficulties. Your emotional resilience has been biochemically reduced by what you ate 90 minutes ago, and most people don't connect those two things. A protein-rich breakfast, eggs, Greek yogurt, nuts, cottage cheese, smoked salmon, stabilizes blood sugar across the morning and provides the tryptophan and tyrosine your brain needs to keep serotonin and dopamine production running. And before anything else, water. Your brain is 75% water and loses fluid overnight. Even mild dehydration measurably increases anxiety and reduces the flexibility of emotional response. This isn't nutrition advice. This is neuroscience. You cannot think or behave your way into happiness if the raw materials for the chemistry aren't there. Feed the system first. Everything else runs better when you do. Chapter 3. Create one moment of genuine anticipation. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter most associated with motivation, pleasure, and reward, is not primarily released when good things happen. It is released in anticipation of good things happening. This is one of the most important and underused findings in modern neuroscience. Neuroscientist Dr. Wolfram Schultz at Cambridge, whose decades of research on the dopamine system earned him the Brain Prize, demonstrated that dopamine neurons fire most strongly not at the moment of reward, but in the period of expectation before it. The anticipation is high. The arrival is almost secondary. What this means practically is that having something to look forward to, genuinely, specifically, even something small, creates a measurable dopamine elevation that improves mood, increases motivation, and builds what researchers describe as a forward orientation. The felt sense that the day is going somewhere worth going. Most people don't engineer this. They let the morning arrive without anything in it they're actually looking forward to. Tasks, obligations, things to get through, and then they wonder why the day feels like a corridor with no windows. The habit is to build one moment of genuine anticipation into every morning, not manufactured enthusiasm, something real and specific, however small. A conversation you're looking forward to, a podcast episode you've been saving, 20 minutes with a book you're absorbed in, a meal you'll actually enjoy. The point is that your brain knows it's coming, and that knowledge, that forward lean into something good, keeps dopamine running in the background all morning like a slow, quiet drip of what happiness is actually made of. Find the thing, put it in the day, tell your brain it's coming, let the chemistry do the rest. Chapter 4. Stop chasing happiness and start noticing it. Here is the habit that changes the most once you understand it, and the one that sounds at first like the least. The human brain has a well-documented negativity bias, a built-in tendency to register, amplify, and remember negative experiences more powerfully than positive ones. It is not symmetrical. One criticism lands harder than 3 compliments. One difficult moment casts a longer shadow than 5 good ones. This was adaptive once. It kept your ancestors alert to danger. In ordinary modern life, it means you are systematically underreporting your own happiness to yourself in real time, every day. You have more moments of genuine contentment, warmth, ease, and pleasure than you register. They pass through your awareness without sticking. A good coffee, a moment of sunlight, a conversation that made you smile, because your brain is not set up to hold on to them. And the cumulative effect of this is that you experience your life as less happy than it actually is. Not because it is, because you're running an inaccurate accounting system. The habit is to correct that accounting. Every morning before the day starts, take 60 seconds to recall one specific moment from the recent past that felt genuinely good. Not a major event, something small and real, a moment of connection, a simple pleasure, a feeling of ease you didn't fully appreciate when it happened. And instead of naming it and moving on, sit inside it, recall the texture of it, let the feeling arrive again, not just the memory. Neuroscientist Dr. Rick Hanson calls this taking in the good. His research shows that deliberately holding a positive experience in conscious awareness for 20 to 30 seconds begins to transfer it from short-term to long-term memory, physically strengthening the neural pathways associated with positive emotion. Over time, this practice doesn't just improve mood, it restructures the baseline. The brain that was trained to let good things pass through starts to hold them, to accumulate them, to build from them. You are not manufacturing happiness. You are finally counting what was already there. Chapter 5. Do one thing that is entirely yours. The last habit is the one that sustains everything else, and the one that quietly disappears from most people's lives long before they notice it's gone. Somewhere in the architecture of adult life, the responsibilities, the obligations, the things that need doing, and the people who need you, most people stop doing things purely for themselves. Not for productivity, not for self-improvement, not to become a better version of anything, just for the private, unreasonable, unjustifiable pleasure of it. And when that disappears, something subtle but important goes with it. Not just enjoyment, a sense of authorship over your own life. The felt experience of being a person with preferences and pleasures, not just a function in other people's days. Psychologist Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying what he called flow, the state of deep absorption in an activity that is intrinsically rewarding, pursued for its own sake. His research showed that people who regularly experience flow have significantly higher levels of life satisfaction, positive emotion, and resilience than those who don't, regardless of income, status, or circumstance. And the most reliable path to flow is not grand, scheduled, optimized activity. It is the small, personal thing you do regularly that the rest of the world has no claim on. For 10 minutes every morning, do one thing that belongs only to you. Read something you love. Write something no one will see. Sit with music that moves you and do nothing else while it plays. Tend a plant. Sketch. Whatever the thing is that makes you feel like yourself rather than your responsibilities. This is not indulgence. This is maintenance of the most important thing you have, a sense of who you are beneath everything you do. When that sense is intact, happiness is not something you have to pursue. It's something you inhabit, quietly from the inside out. 10 minutes, yours every morning. 5 habits, each one working on a different part of the same question. Morning light and movement give your brain the serotonin it needs to feel steady. Protein and water give it the raw materials to keep that chemistry running. Anticipation keeps dopamine flowing towards something worth moving toward. Noticing what's already good corrects the accounting your brain has been running wrong. And 10 minutes of something purely yours reminds you, daily, quietly, and it's that happiness was never somewhere else. It was always available here, in the life you're already living, when you look at it the right way. You don't need a perfect life to feel this way. You need a morning that points you toward what's already there. Start tomorrow with the walk first, let the rest follow.